Hey, what's up guys, TechTitan here, and I am back again with a brand new video, and this is my final review of the Nokia G400 5G. So let's talk a little bit. Nokia, they're really trying to push for a budget smartphone war out here. So they're releasing smartphones like it's nobody's business, and this is one of their latest devices, and it's supposed to compete with phones under 300 bucks. Now does it? Oof. Let's talk about it. So let's start with the design itself. So first of all, it's not like a unique design or anything like that. So the bag is made out of this very glossy reflective plastic material with the Nokia logo kind of standing in portrait mode. I don't know why, but needless to say, it's a very glossy bag. And one of the things that I want to talk about is the fact that it catches fingerprints like crazy. It's just a fingerprint magnet, and yeah, put a case on it, bottom line. So it does have these curves around the edges to help with the grip, but it's not really that effective. And overall, though, it is a very thin and not relatively heavy phone, especially since it does have 5000 milliamp hour battery. More on that later. On the right hand side, you do get the power button / fingerprint, and you also get the volume up and down. Now the fingerprint sensor is fast, reliable, does what you would expect it to be, and the buttons are tactile, so they definitely get a thumbs up from me. Now the bottom of the phone does house a couple of things. So you still retain the 3.5mm headphone jack. It still makes a survival in 2022. A microphone, your USB-C port, which does support, I believe, up to 20-watt fast charging. Nice, and they do include that in the box. And you also have the speaker, which we'll get to listen to in a little bit as well, so stay with me. Now the backhand side also has the triple camera setup, so a main sensor of 48 megapixels and a wide angle sensor as well as a macro sensor. More on that later. So the front also has this nice display. So let's talk about the display, and we're going to spend a minute to talk about this screen because it has a lot of things going for it. So first of all, it's an IPS panel. It gets relatively bright, and we'll get to test that out in a little bit. And it also has a nice feature which phones on this price point do not have that often. So that feature is adaptive brightness, meaning that it will refresh your page up to 120 hertz. So it's not going to be 120 hertz all the time, but it can reach that point if needed. Now, as far as the quality of the screen goes, it's very nice. Okay, so sharp, vivid, and gets definitely a thumbs up from me. It's a quality 1080p panel, so it's not 2K, it's not OLED. Don't expect it to be for a phone that you're basically paying around $280 for. Now, in outdoor conditions though, when you're not in direct sunlight, you can still make up your content. It's not that bad, but when you do hit direct sunlight, it does suffer a little bit. It's not that bad. Actually, in brightness, it gets a thumbs up from me. For a phone at this price point, it definitely gets a thumbs up from me. So it still is quality. Overall, this display is thumbs up all the way. There's nothing really much to complain about here. Now, as far as content consumption goes, it's also pretty good. So it doesn't support HDR content. Expected, it's a budget phone at the end of the day. But as a package though, when you're consuming content, like you're watching videos, you're scrolling through social media, you should not be disappointed at all whatsoever. Definitely gets a thumbs up from me. So we're gonna take a listen to the speaker test, which is kind of a letdown for me, but take a listen and I'll give you guys my thoughts on it. Okay, so it is a bottom-facing speaker, and it's kind of a letdown. It's not really that it doesn't get crazy loud, and it does distort really badly at highest volume. but that is to be expected. You do get a headphone jack, and most likely a lot of people use Bluetooth. But if you're just using it for your everyday scrolling through social media and things like that, you shouldn't have a problem with it at all. Now let's flip the page and talk about performance and specs. So this phone has the following specs. You have an octa-core Snapdragon 480 Plus chip. You also have 4 gigabytes of RAM, 64 gigabytes of standard storage, as well as a nicely sized 5000 milliamp hour battery. So paper specs so far are thumbs up. Let's look at the benchmarks. For the people that love benchmarks, here's your scores. So you do get a single core of 532, and you also get a multi-core of 1632. Now, realistically, these numbers don't really tell us much unless we're comparing them to other numbers. This sits right between the Galaxy A13 5G and the Galaxy A23 5G and the Moto G Stylus 5G. But this is not really the real test. The real test comes when actually using the phone as you would just use the phone normally. So when it comes to the basic tasks like opening up apps and scrolling through social media and switching between one app to the other, it does a good job. Now, what I did notice is that it does lag from time to time. So there are bugs here and there when it comes to even the everyday apps. So sometimes it crashes. Sometimes when you're trying to watch a video, it just the volume doesn't work out of nowhere. So it does have these little annoying bugs. I'm not sure if they can be fixed with a software update. Hopefully they can, and if they can, then hopefully Nokia just pushes them out quickly. Now, as far as gaming, I'm not really a heavy gamer myself, but when it comes to gaming, it does well. So don't expect it to go the highest frame rate. So I know it's 120 hertz display, but it's not going to be crazy when it comes to gaming just because the chip in this device is a budget processor as well as a budget graphics chip. But overall though, it does well for the price. So the frame rate is decent. It's not the greatest, of course, but when it comes to lighter weight title, then it does well. If you want to step it up and go heavy and just push the graphics chip, then you're just going to get the consequences of pushing the graphics chip. It is going to slow down a little bit and you will see kind of lag here and there, but nothing too extreme. Overall, does well in the gaming package. Okay, so performance overall is a thumbs up for a phone at this price point, but there are better. Okay, and just wait, we'll talk about that in my conclusion. Now, flipping back to the camera, this, like I said, it does have a triple camera setup. So you do have a main sensor of 48 megapixels. You also have an ultra wide sensor as well as a macro sensor. A depth sensor. As far as the camera integration itself, it's very well. I did a full in-depth camera review. I'll leave it in the link. I'll leave it in the description below. So if you want to check it out, you'll get more in-depth look. But the camera does protrude a little bit, and that is to be expected. Honestly, it's a 48 megapixel sensor. As far as picture quality goes though, here's my quick summary, right? Like I said, I did a full camera review. It will be linked below, but here's my summary. First of all, the camera app itself is very simplistic, intuitive. One of the complaints that I did have about it is that it lags when taking pictures, but that's just because I like to take my pictures in HDR. I think that just makes the photo much better than just taking it without high dynamic range. That's my opinion. Now, back to picture quality itself. It's decent, it's vibrant, it's colorful. It does have inconsistency here and there, but overall definitely takes acceptable photos. My full review will give you more details on that. And it does have night mode, so night photography is better than I expected. Definitely gets a thumbs up from me. Okay, now let me talk about my conclusion. And we talked pretty much the whole review. All we talked about is the technicality. So performance, we focused on technicality. The camera, we focused on technicality. The screen, we focused on technicality. So I want to just reflect on the people that are looking to buy this phone and basically speak to them. At the end of the day, Nokia used to be that badass company way back when. Now it's not as reliable and it's not as popular as it once was which makes it harder to recommend. And even if I do recommend this phone, like I said, if I'm reviewing this in a vacuum, it's a pretty much a good phone overall for the price point, but it does have bugs here and there that make it just not as reliable as I would like it to be. And I really want Nokia to win here, trust me. But if you had a choice, if I put down the Nokia G400 and the Galaxy A23 and the Moto G Stylus 5G, I can assure you that most people, unless you're a Nokia diehard fan, which it's a rarity nowadays, most people would not pick that. They would actually go with either the Samsung or the Motorola in the budget world nowadays. Um, which I get it. The Galaxy A23 to me is just a much better buy. The Moto G Stylus 5G has features that this phone just does not have. So, listen, I like this phone. I really do, but I think that there are much better options and much more reliable options out there in the market. Hopefully, Nokia tries to kind of stand out with a couple of features that are not gimmicks. Gimmicks do not make you stand out, but they do pull out some sort of a feature. Because listen, back in the day, Nokia used to rule the camera world when they had this partnership with Microsoft. The only thing that it lacked is good software, and that's Microsoft's fault. But listen, if Nokia can make a feature stand out or can actually make a nice budget phone that meets high expectation for a low price, then they'll win. That's my conclusion. So let me take a step back and just give you guys the thank you that you all deserve, and thank you so much for watching this video. If you did enjoy it, make sure to leave a thumbs up and let me know your thoughts in the comments below. How do you feel about this phone? Do you think that it will compete? Do you think that it's gonna flop due to the lack of popularity? Let me know. So, with that being said, thank you all so much for watching, and I will definitely catch you guys in the next one. Thank you for watching.